technology and science, these types of careers are really a way to get ahead, get an advantage, help your kid understand what the world is like, how it operates. And our special guest today, Tauanja Kittrell, is going to talk to us about how to get our kids into science and help them get into a career of that nature. Hi, thank you so much for joining the Falling for Learning podcast. We have this podcast to help parents and caregivers with having the resources, strategies, and tools needed to make sure that their children are on track for learning and to stay on track for success. Welcome to Tauanja Kittrell. Tell us about your background.
Hi, so I have a pretty heavy STEM background. I did most of my career in the fire services, where I served as a firefighter paramedic for most of my career. And then the latter of my career, I was actually an arson investigator. I've traveled doing investigations both statewide and also in an abundance of states as well. And I also worked specifically with an insurance company where I will also travel to do investigations, which would basically be me doing scene examinations, collecting evidence, and all that other cool stuff as it relates to science. And also, I've been an educator now for several years. So again, my background is really heavy in healthcare, and forensics.
Wow, so impressive. So can you tell us as a kid, like what got you into learning, what got you into science and, help lead to your career path?
It's pretty interesting because when I was younger, I really knew really early on that I wanted to be a doctor. So I remember me doing a lot of exploration stuff outside. So I was really into plants, I was really into insects. So I find myself dissecting bees and any other kind of insect that I could get my hands on. But I really started off wanting to go to med school and fulfill that dream to become a doctor.
All right. Okay. And so tell us about your education background and, how we went through, you have all those different experiences that you bring to the classroom as an educator.
Well, I think that I want to start by saying that it's really, how can I say, it's not practical the way that I did my track record. And I always looked at life a little differently, probably than what most do. So when I started, in the education field, meaning, me being academically inclined, I always kind of gravitated towards science. So science was always my strong suit. Math, I was also strong in that. But I realized that when we look at the world and just everyday life, and even back then when I was younger, that everything kind of constituted with medical law and also health. So, with that being said, when I entered into the career services, I knew the importance of not just shoring myself up for the real life applications of the work that I was involved in, but I thought it was also critical for me to make sure that I tightened up all ends in all aspects of law, medical, and also health, because
Okay.
we know that the world was going to continue to evolve. So that's the
Yeah.
track that I kind of took.
Yes, and I really like, highlight you're talking about how the world continues to evolve. There's so many technological advances right now, and I know some parents are concerned about that, or, there's lots of issues going on. What can you talk to parents about to help them get their kids into science and really thinking about the implications of some of these technological advances as they get older?
Well, I think that one of the things that they could do, which is very simple, is allowing them to keep a journal, documenting their feelings about the process of, different things that they encounter, not only just in life, but even with their subjects that they're studying. When you realize that you take notes and about how you feel and different things that you are curious about, and you kind of have the opportunity to go back and reflect upon those things, it does give you a grasp of where you can go and how you can evolve from that. And I
Yeah.
still do that even now to this day.
Okay. All right. And so when you're thinking about your pathways, like what what are some like study skills or some things about science specifically that really fascinated you, like to help kids as they are thinking about choosing a career path in some type of area of STEM?
Well, I think we have to get out of the traditional. Science is what it is. It's science. It's everyday life. I don't think that there's no one way to do anything, and I think that sometimes that's the problem and why kids are disinterested and they're not as active as they should be. When we look at what we cook with, when we look at what we bathe with, when we look at the clothing that we wear, everything we do evolves around science. So it's always something that you can put your hands on. So I think that exploration and I also think that application and making the connection between those applications is very important. So, doing all kinds of things like just simply looking at the climate, just looking at the foods that we eat, looking at the different things that we wear and the smells that we smell, helping make those connections. And that's something simple that we can do with very little money or no money at all. I think that sometimes we just kind of look at it as being something that we always have to be in the classroom for. And I don't agree with that. I think it crosses the line with you being outside. It also crosses the line with you actually looking within yourself, because even
Mm.
within ourselves, we are also that walking science prototype in that walking science model.
All right. Well, let's unpack a little bit of that. So, when you talk about clothing, which of course our kids are very much interested as, they're high school and middle schoolers, what connections can we make to science and technology when we're talking about clothing with kids? Because we know a lot of guests don't know and you have that expertise. So, let us know.
So when we talk about clothing in itself, there's a lot. So we have to look at the type of material that it's made with. A lot of people have environmental allergies. And
Mhm.
again, those environmental allergies can also make the connection with your clothing that you wear. Color is very important. Because again, if you're allergic to certain things, dark colors may pose an issue for you, in particular, like black, navy, because they bleed. And it depends on the chemicals that they use to treat the fabrics that we wear. So,
Okay.
wool is, some people can wear wool, some people can't. Cotton blends, rayon, and so and certain fabrics like that can also have interactions with your chemistry. So again, anything that the skin has in contact with, or the things that can be absorbed through the skin, can also pose an issue. So clothing is definitely a big one, and that's why I said that even with the technology that we have now, there's a lot that we can learn from that, because we have the 3D printing. We have the
Mhm.
back in the day ways how, we actually put our hands on and we did the manufacturing ourselves. So
Okay.
everything doesn't have to be a quick fix or a cookie cutter piece. But I just think that we have to kind of look at where we are and where we're evolving right now, because a lot of things are being added, which are also leading to cancer and other diseases. So we really have to be mindful of that. But with the technology and a lot of the studies that we have now and the biochemistry and things of that nature, it makes it a little bit easier to kind of target in on those specific factors that are having, I guess I could say, bad outcomes when it comes to health.
Okay, so that's really insightful. So, just thinking about the type of clothing they may wear, it may give them allergic reaction. And I know a lot of teens, as they're going through changes and puberty, they may become sensitive to certain things. They might get a lot of
Mhm.
acne, and connecting that to science. And then later on, they could connect that to a career. So, I really think that was really important. As parents, we don't really think about that. Are there some sources that we could get information for like clothing or like, how technology relates to clothing or, the type of dye that's used? What kind of like websites or books or something where we could look?
Well, it's interesting you asked me that, but there's definitely a new site that is actually located in Baltimore, Maryland. And I want to, I'm bringing that up for a reason, because, I worked with Girls in Technology for a while. So that was one of the field trips that we took. And it was actually a new location in the Baltimore area. I believe the last time I went there, had to be 2017. I believe that's when it opened up. But it's a 3D printing manufacturing location. Not only is it a 3D printing location, but you actually can go sit down and you can actually have a whole session where they teach you the process of 3D printing. It also shows you how 3D printing is integrated in certain industries. And it also allows you the opportunity to have that hands-on exploration. I think that that is the only location that I know that is local. Again, that's in the Baltimore area. I cannot remember the name of it right now from the top of my head, but that is also a good source. My thing that I want to just make sure that I emphasize with everybody in this segment is that we have to get out of the norm of the conventional way because science is not conventional anymore. So take advantage of, like I said, of some of these different opportunities, like some of these small businesses that do offer, you to be able to go in and take a look and actually put your hands on certain things because I think it's important. The Natural Science Museum is another good source. Anywhere that you have where there's history, and when you also have an opportunity to actually sit down with a researcher, please take that opportunity to do that. I think that it's not enough time that we're always given to be able to visit outside of the classroom. And I think more of that needs to be a little bit more practical, especially since we see that science is evolving so rapidly, especially where technology is involved. So we really need to switch things up and get around the technology because the technology piece is where we really need to start leaping towards.
Okay, I really want to highlight. We will need to talk more about like what a 3D printer is, but I really want to
Mhm.
highlight how we're talking about finding local science museums. In the Los Angeles area, we have a California Science Center, which is very
Mhm.
interactive. So every local area is going to have something close by where you can really interact. Even when we think about like those sea, like marine life museums,
Mhm.
So there's different museums, the Natural Science Center, Natural Science Center, you said? Which one
Yes.
did you? Yes, okay.
Yeah, the Natural Science Museum, the Smithsonian also offers programs all across the globe. So
Yes.
also looking into the Smithsonian program, and they will also direct you. The National Park System is also another great resource because again, everybody has a park everywhere.
Yes.
And they also host a lot of different programs, and they also have researchers and also scientists who come in from all over the world. So they do offer a variety of different aspects of
Yeah.
hands-on practical skills. Another good source that I want to also drop here is going to be STEM for Her, and that's another program that I'm very familiar with. Again, that was also connected with Girls in Technology and also um, what is it called? Black Girls Code is another one. So there are different organizations, and those are just a few that I'm familiar with firsthand, and that's why I'm mentioning them. That I know for a fact that, and even if it says that it's just primarily girls or whatever, listen, just do your research and connect with those different organizations that I've talked about because they also have other programs that's also interconnected with them. So it's important to, just make sure you know, just explore it.
Okay. So I'll hold that thought. We're going to have a sponsor really quickly, and we're going to get more information, more gems about how to get our
Mhm.
kids into science. 75% of children don't know how to write well. Add that to the fact that so many people out there are trying to silence the voices of those who have been oppressed and trying to prevent them from telling their story. Who's going to tell your story? If your child doesn't know how to write well, I have two books to address this issue: The Rewrite Method and The Rewrite Method Workbook, written to make sure that parents know what to do, that educators know what to do to get their children to write better, and just not write better, but love to write. Make sure that your next generation could tell their story and they won't be silenced. Go to fallingforlearning.com today to purchase your set. So let's get back into it. So some parents, again, don't know what a 3D printer is. So could you take a moment to tell us about what a 3D printer is for those people who may not know?
Yeah, so 3D printers basically is like an industrial printer. They can be small where they're portable, and then they also have large ones as well, where basically it takes an image. It's able to analyze that image and it's able to actually produce whatever it is that you're trying to reproduce in a product that is more sustainable for the earth. So again, when you start talking about making advancements in regards to practically anything, because now they can also do organs of implants, they can do clothing, they can do all different types of things. So again, it's an integrated system that works with many different factors, but they're able to basically cut into a lot of different aspects when we talk about safety. We talk about clothing, and we talk about all different industries across the board, and it's still evolving.
Okay. Well, thank you. And when
Hmm.
you're talking about the different programs, I just want to highlight, you've had so much experience. You've been an educator, you worked in law enforcement, you have, worked with emergency medicine and medicine in general. And then you also had your program, the girls. Tell us about the name of the program that you were working with the kids.
Girls in Technology. Yes, I actually served as one of the executive leadership team members there. And I served as a school liaison. So my role with that was actually connecting and recruiting high school students from all over the Washington, D.C. and metropolitan area to invite them, especially into the STEM related fields. So what we would do is introduce them to STEM fields, STEM opportunities, and also help them to apply for scholarships and actually get them situated with starting to outline what their dreams and their goals were for college outside of high school. So we allowed them to enter in the program from ninth grade, and we followed them all the way until 12th grade. And then we also had a program which was a step after high school as well.
All right. So such a wonderful program. And that is something, we serve this podcast, of course, serves parents that do homeschooling and parents who are all up in their children's educational experience. And sometimes getting an outside organization or a after school program or something to get your child involved in will help give them that hook that they need to really find their passion, find something they're interested in, and it could be a science or technology career. And this is one, pathway that can get them into knowing about it and getting interested in it. So
Well,
checking
I
out.
want to also Right,
Go
but I want
ahead.
to also say too that it's not just about the science program. So when I first started doing investigations, I'm gonna tell you, I was really, really, really amazed at all of the different types of opportunities that exist. And it's not just science, but they are just small. How can I say? There are small things that we can do, but there are also other careers that we wouldn't even think of that have a big opportunity for you to evolve in. So one of the things that I learned is that when I first started doing investigations, I was responsible for bringing in a lot of experts. So in
Okay.
particular, depending on the type of situation it was, I would actually have to get a expert, or I would say somebody who had a background in electrical or mechanical. Okay,
Okay.
so normally when we look at a somebody that's an electrician, we just look at them as, oh, all they know how to do is to hook things up. No, listen, anybody who gets a trade, this is where I'm getting ready to tell you to start opening up your mind, because there are a lot of different agencies and industries that could utilize you to be on their investigative teams, and you can
Okay.
travel all over the world. You wouldn't have
Mm.
any idea, because again, they don't really talk about these type of opportunities. So you just being somebody who has a specialty in electricity or somebody who has a specialty in mechanical, there are
Mm-hmm.
so many different things that you can do in that field. So there's so many different industries. So you talk about the manufacturing, you talk about the the product improvement. You talk about the safety enhancements. There is so much that you can do. You just need to get into something, and you just need to just be curious. Okay,
Yes.
because like I said, I didn't realize that even with me being an investigator, that there are still so many other open doors that you can open, but you have to be able to be curious, and that's what it's about, being curious and asking the questions. Because a lot of times things that you think is going to be given to you, it's not going to be given to you, but you also have
Mm,
to ask the right questions in order for you to stumble into something different. And that's what I
okay.
did.
All right. Well, thank you. So we heard it here, something that maybe you may not know, it's not really advertised or talked about that much, but how one specialty can help lead it to a lot of different opportunities for you. So she knows. So make sure you lean in, look at, these the information that she is giving. We're going to have lots of resources in the show notes so that you can access it and help, look at what may be a fit for your child, for your personal schedule, and all of that. Okay. So that's great. Okay. So when we're thinking about, you talked about some things that we could do at home, right?
Mhm.
Taking our kids to the museums. Um, and you also talked about, or this made me think about, right? So different, maybe experiments or activities that you could do
Mhm.
with your child, especially as they get older. We want to keep them involved, right? Little kids tend to be easier to get excited and all of that. When we think about our adolescents, our teens, and our tweens, what are some activities or experiments or something like that we could do with our kid to keep them interested in science, curious about their environment?
Well, we want to definitely start talking to them as if they are scientists. So I'm really big
Mm,
on affirmations, but affirmations also does not just have to be limited to just you're beautiful, you're smart. No, you need to talk to them like they're a scientist. If they're an inventor, and you see you have a child that is very curious, and that's very hands-on with certain things, you need to talk to them like they are a scientist, because the more you talk to them as if they're actually in the field, the more that it will start to carry in their spirit. And again, it would also help to increase their
mm,
curiosity and their adaptability to learning new things that's related to the things that they like to do. Also, scavenger hunts. Be creative in collecting things that's around the house, things that may be outside, and creating a scavenger hunt. You can always come up with something. Look at some old movies. One of the ones that I love is Back to the Future. So, Back to the Future
okay.
1, Back to the Future 2. We sometimes overlook some of the things from the past, but the things from the past is what we have now accelerated into the future on. So look at some of
Mm,
those old movies. Make it, make some time to actually sit down, look at those movies, and you can even come up with different themes inside your home. Put some snacks together. There's other things that you can do to kind of bring that feel.
okay.
And you never know that it also may be something from the movie that you can also integrate into a fun activity that you can do post the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing I want to talk about is cooking. Cooking, cooking, cooking. We do that. We have to survive, right?
Yes.
But there's so much that we can do with cooking as it relates to science. And so when you start talking about experiments, looking at if we mix certain things, we get this color. We do this, we get this aroma. How do we use our oils? Because there are different versions of oils that we know that are good for our body, and
Yes.
different things that aren't so good for our body. So there's always something that we can do. Look at the labels. Are we examining the labels? You can have your children start to build their subject matter, not just for healthier foods and healthier
Okay.
choices, but actually sit down and look at the labels and actually look those things up and put in when you Googled it.
Mm,
Harmful ingredients, what are the symptoms that I can develop if this is not good for me? I did that with my classes just last year, because I talk to them a lot about the things that they eat and how it affects their behavior. If you
mm,
have a child that already has ADHD, a lot of the stuff that they're eating, when we start looking at our snacks, When we look at our chips and we look at our candies and we look at the higher concentrations of sugar,
Okay,
those
wait a
things
minute.
affect.
Wait a minute. Are you saying like you were talking to the kids about like the hot Cheetos and stuff like that that they're eating?
I'm talking about the honey buns. I'm talking about the
Okay.
Doritos. I'm talking about all of the stuff that they eat that we know that are campaigned very frequently to our kids, even
Yes.
soft drinks, all of those things. If you read the first, I'm saying like the first three, the first four, the first six, they all tie back into the behavior piece. So again, if you
Okay.
have a child that has a learning disability, as again, some of these learning disabilities also come about because of different environmental factors and different things that we also indulge in. And so I
Okay.
tell people, do not be surprised that if you change your diet in the way that you do certain things when it comes to your diet, you will also see that you are opening up yourself and you are cleaning out certain things out of your system so that you can realign yourself. Because a lot of the stuff that we have and a lot of different processes that we are embarking upon when we start talking about behaviors and moods and emotions tie back to your healthy eating or not.
Okay, so I that is such insightful things. And some of our kids are very vain. So that does definitely align to them, right? Like if they see the food is not good for them and how problematic it is for them, that's really important. Okay, good. And what were the reactions of your kids? Did you see them changing? The students changing their habits with eating because of some of the things that you've taught them to look for?
Well, some of them yes, and some of them no. They would. Some of them would. I'm going to say yes. Some of them would, because I was real big on letting them know that they needed to have more water, put into them system, and especially when we were getting ready for standardized tests, that they needed to do at least a 2 to 3 day detox. So whatever it is that they were doing on a regular basis, all I asked them to do is to give themselves at least 2 to 3 days where they did not eat a lot of high concentrated sugar. They drank more water within those 3 days so that they could help
Okay.
to detox themselves because they would see that they would sleep better. They would also see that their focus would be a lot better. And some of them actually did it, and some of them actually saw the difference. And so
Wow.
the ones who were able to do it for the 3 days, I rest assure you, by that fourth day or that weekend, they made sure, Miss T, I had my candy, and they went on a binge, so to speak. But there were some who kind of realigned themselves and readjusted. And one of the other things too that I also talked to them about as well, and I kind of forgot to say that, is cosmetics, as we know that we're now in a time where all of us, adults and also our kids, are starting to be a little bit more in tune with their body, the body image, the body shaming, and different things that comes with that. But then also because of our hormones. So looking at the cosmetics that you put on your bodies, actually doing research to see the ingredients that are in certain things that we wear, like our deodorants, our detergents, even our lotions, and different things that we put on soap that we put on our body. Again, everything is not always a good fit for everybody. So please make sure, again, that these are also activities that we can all practice in, and
Yes.
looking up labels and, just doing research. Research is never ending. So that's another activity that we can do. And, making good use of that dictionary. People are scared to use a dictionary. Everything is technology based, but the labels are there for a reason. So we just need to kind of bring back some of the old stuff and actually take the time to sit down and enhance our vocabulary, and then also enhance our knowledge by just the labels itself.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to highlight, like, reading those labels, of course, goes and then researching what's in it. It involves so many different skills, right? The reading skills,
The math.
the writing, the math, and something that, my daughter, when she was in kindergarten, even her was kindergarten, second grade, I don't remember, third grade maybe. They were
Mhm.
telling her to look at labels of food, and they were saying that first ingredient is the ingredient that has the most in it. And of course, when you see that food with sugar is number one, or something that has, that's a synonym for sugar, right? Which a lot of stuff is sucralose, fructose, all this kind of stuff. It's like, oh, this is just mostly sugar. And, it just really helps you to open up your eyes into like what you're eating, what you're putting into your body, into your system. Where,
Mhm.
some people just don't know, even though it might be like a fruit soda, like some kids don't know, like fruit soda may have zero fruit in it.
Yeah,
Fruit drink is
that's
not the
true.
same as juice or whatever. So just really opening up their eyes to that. And if you have kids or if you don't have kids, it's a best practice for all of us to look at what we're putting on our body, what we're putting in our body. But it will definitely help kids and shape what they're doing as they get older and make informed decisions, right? So
Yes.
I love
And then
that.
also, when I talked about the scavenger hunt, the scavenger hunts are fun. I mean, there's so many different places that you can go, that are free. Another thing is to also just look at some of the other things and different professions outside of just the norm of being a doctor. And I want to look at some of these other industries, because it's important to allow our kids to have some exposure to different professions, because again, you never know what that could do to shape them. So when we start looking at some of the manufacturing places, I love to get out to like farmer markets. So
Mm.
any type of um, activities that may be related to farming, let them go. You go, because you'd be surprised, because there may also actually be somebody there who actually makes and manufactures, different arts and crafts, but then also clothing that you can wear, and then you can actually get a chance to speak with that person. So again, like I said, it's the simple things that sometimes we overlook, but they also lead to other pathways of a career, but it also leads to a different pathway of creativity, because again, everybody's not going to be a good fit to go into the career world. We do have to accept that, but I think
Yes.
it's also important that we nurture the creativity, because through creativity you also create other opportunities for yourself, which also leads to what? Financial what? Stability. So again, I think we kind of need to look at that, because science is not a one all end all. And creating a escape room, a science escape room. So that's
Mm.
something different. We hear about escape rooms all day long, but how can you make that into a fun activity where you can create your own escape room, whether it be at home or you can create something on the outside as well.
Wonderful. I just want to thank you so much for bringing this knowledge and this new viewpoint to us about science and technology careers that we didn't really know about, right? A lot of us, I'm learning a lot. And so, as we are wrapping up, are there any final takeaways that you want to tell your parents, resources available, and, before we, send everyone off?
Yes, I just want to just also challenge our parents to just do something different that you're not used to doing. I think just from a perspective, and I have to be honest, because it's different, because I'm actually in the middle and I see a lot. And a lot of times we don't talk about what that middle looks like. It's not always pleasant. But I want to say that I want to just challenge our parents to get back into the classroom as well. It's important for you to be in the classroom, because you being part of that learning experience, you are also an anchor for your child. You create the experience, and then you also create the thrive for them, because a lot of our students sometimes are also discouraged, because maybe they may have heard how your experience may have been in the past, and then that filters into that child's thought process when it comes to them and their learning. So I'm going to challenge my parents to get back into the classroom. You go out and get yourself into a class where you're getting yourself revamped with science and the different things that are happening right now into science. Get yourself back
Mm.
into the classroom where you're also being a part of that learning experience, where you actually can see how the learning process is going, on what your children are learning, because it's different when you're standing outside of the classroom than you
Yes.
actually being part of the learning experience. And I'm not
Mm-hmm.
saying this to be, mean. I'm just saying that education is changing. So what isn't working is the old tactics. We now have to start being more engaged and we have to start being more involved. The more involved you are, it helps to motivate, it helps to add to the thrive, and it also helps to cultivate. And it also helps
Yes,
to be
yes.
support because the more knowledge that you have as a parent, it also helps your child when they are having some difficulties because critical thinking is one of those pieces that we are starting to slowly lose the battle on. You know, we need our kids to
Mhm.
think, we need them to be able to put pieces together.
Yes.
Everything in life evolves around science. There's a methodology up with that. So get back into the classroom, parents, get back into the classroom.
All right. So you heard it here. A challenge for you to get back in the classroom, you helping in the classroom, you doing some learning yourself in the classroom. All right. And again, we thank you so much for joining us. Is there a way, if people want to have questions or you have some resources for parents and families or other educators out there, where could they get in contact with you or reach out to you?
Yes, I'm also available as well on social media. So you can reach out to me at Pursuing Possible. I also do trainer experiences for my parents. And then I'm also going to be starting a new program specifically for my youth as it relates to getting them academically um, inclined with their test strategies when it comes to certain things that they need help with. So, yes, they can reach out to me at Pursuing Possible on Instagram. And then you can also follow me on YouTube as well at Pursuing Possible.
All right. All right. So we'll be in touch. We'll put all of this is in our show notes. And we appreciate you again for joining us.
And
Everyone
thank
have
you.
thanks. Everyone have a great week and make sure you do something today that your future adult children will thank you for. Thanks again for supporting the Falling for Learning podcast. New episodes go live every Saturday at 5 p.m. You can watch us on youtube.com at Falling for Learning or listen on all major podcast platforms such as Apple, Google, Audible, Spotify, and much more. For more resources, visit fallinginlovewithlearning.com. We really appreciate you. Have a wonderful week.